This is Jeff with the Halcyon Masters, and we're honored to bring you the story of Grace, a Gythian paladin who protects her allies with divine healing. Grace's story is an extension of the ongoing Gythian saga. This includes other heroes such as Lyra, Samuel, Lance, and Reim. I'll summarize the important parts of their stories, but for more information and details, be sure to watch our previous videos. Links will be included in the card above and the description below. On a foreign island, a Gythian paladin strolled down an unkept path. Besides the imposing man walked his wide-eyed daughter, who looked around in awe. This was her first trip outside of Gythia, and at the age of 6, she was amazed by the flowers, exotic birds, and even the pesky mosquitoes. The paladin noticed his daughter's delight and asked if she liked the islands. Grace said yes, it is the prettiest place in the world. Giving no credit to the locals that were escorting them, Grace's dad called out that this land shall now be known as the Grace Islands. He even made sure the Gythian mapmakers took note of it in their journals. As they continued their journey, Grace's father randomly named the flora and fauna as though he had created it all. Their local guides were all too happy to follow and be of service. Grace even mentioned that these people were very nice. Grace's dad said peace and kindness is embedded into their culture, and they even filed down their teeth to remove their violent nature. This was a shock to Grace, but her dad justified their behavior and that they have no right in telling them how to live. At a fork in the road, Grace stopped dead in her tracks as the world around her brightened. She called out for her father, who rushed to her side. He told her not to fear and embrace the light. Grace was having a vision. One fork of the road was blocked by a massive wall of ice. The vision was so real that Grace shivered from its cold. The other fork, which led to the river, erupted in a wall of fire. The embers sparked and even burned her cheeks. Her dad asked which way the fire was, and she pointed to the wall of flames. And the second that she pointed, it disappeared. He commanded the procession to move towards the river, and what they found was a narrow stone path that cut through the river and led to a stone temple. An eerie quiet cloaked over the temple. The mangrove trees were scorched. The mosquitoes and monkeys stayed away. At the entrance to the temple appeared a boy who looked a year younger than Grace. Unlike the brightly dressed locals that escorted the Gythians, this boy only wore a sarong around his waist. The rest of the boy's body was covered in gruesome burn scars and welts. One of the guides whispered, "This boy speaks fire. His name is Reza." Grace could see the boy was in physical pain, and with her dad's guidance, she told him that she would take care of him, and she rested her palms on the boy's face. A light burned at the top of her head, and she guided it down as her father had taught her, down through her head, her throat, flooding her heart and belly, then to her arms and fingertips. The light swelled and the boy's eyes grew wide. Down his shoulders, her hands slid, leaving behind smooth, healed flesh. The boy opened his mouth as to speak, but what came out of his mouth was a trail of fire. Grace's dad raised his light shield right in time to protect his daughter from the flames. Reza shut his mouth, and from his eyes poured ashy tears. This mageborn must be trained in the proper use of his powers, just as you, born to the light, have learned to control your visions. Until we deliver him to the mages, you must care for him like a brother. Grace took the boy's hand and said, "My brother, I shall name you Titus." That's part 1 of Grace's lore. Let's pause here and recap the first part of this story because a lot is going on. This is not only the backstory for Grace, but also the backstory for Titus. We first met Titus in part 2 of Lyra's lore. The two are lovers, and to heat things up a little bit more, a hint is dropped about his abilities as he's able to keep Lyra nice and toasty. Even though the two are in love and plan to be married, their application was denied, and Lyra was shipped off to the Cal Peaks, while Titus was arranged to marry Laura, the Archmage, and also one of Lyra's political adversaries. Laura and Titus have a son, Samuel, and at the age of 4 is sent to study with Lyra in Tristan. A cruel arrangement really, as Lyra is forced to raise the son of the man who she loved, as if to tell her that this is the family you could have had. Samuel studies not only with Lyra, but also with Reim. Through Reim, Samuel gains a deep appreciation for the Grangor people, which is tested when his biological mother, Laura, orders the Grangors to be forced from their homeland or to be killed. Samuel refuses, and with the help of the Grangors, lays waste to the colony of Tristan. Samuel flees and finds himself on the back of the Archilian, where he's befriended by Lance. Lance is in awe by the culture of Gythia, and he swears fealty to Gythia and to Samuel in hopes that he'll one day earn the title of knight. Lance escorts Samuel to Gythia, where they're greeted by Laura, Lyra, and Reim. Embarrassed by her biological son's actions, Laura uses the 10th discipline as a way to kill her son, just as she had killed Reim's son for asking too many questions. But Samuel outsmarts his mother by opening up a portal to the Nether. He's able to knock her down and steals her wand. Right before Samuel is able to deliver a fatal blow, Lance steps in and blocks the magical spell, saving Laura, but allowing Samuel just enough time to escape. Okay, enough recap. If you want the full story, go back and check out our other videos on Lyra, Samuel, Lance, and Reim. Let's get into part 2 of Grace's lore. Grace wakes up early in the morning. She rolls out the stiffness in her shoulder and made her way to the empty training yard. Every morning, she works through the same routine, both to practice her skills with the mace, but more importantly, to focus her mind and body. During her ritual, she can control her visions, and at first there was only sound of the Nether, a place of nightmare. Calling the vision deeper, Grace went blind to the world around, while the eyes rolled back into her head and she willed the vision to see who opened the Nether. Instead of seeing a mage, who she expected, she found a stranger in Gythian armor, wandering the streets, asking anyone who would listen about a wayward boy. Seeing what she needed, she returned to the world and spoke to a group of servants who were attending to the garden. "A man is at the gate. Bring him to me." Without question, the assistants left to open the gate just as Lance arrived. Grace addressed Lance by asking how he came in possession with the Gythian armor. Lance explained that Gennaro was his teacher, and he also journeyed on the back of the Archilian, and at the time of his death passed all of his possessions to Lance. Grace broke some of the tension by saying, "We mourned together. Gennaro was a good knight and friend of my father's." From Grace's perspective, Lance was involved with opening the Nether, which could jeopardize Gythia. She continued to press Lance and ask what he wanted, so Lance continued to explain his journey, his reason for coming to Grace, and that he still sought knighthood, but failed to live up to his promise to protect Gythia and Samuel. Instead, he had stopped Samuel from killing his mother Laura, but also gave him the opening to get away. After hearing the story, Grace commanded Lance to get on his knees. Lance feared that he would be punished for his actions, but instead of pain, he felt Grace's palms on his bare head. Warmth flooded down his spine with a peace that he had not known since he was a child. Grace praised him for saving the Archmage, and asked if he would live by the tenets of justice, courage, mercy, decorum, honesty, honor, loyalty, and character. Lance choked out, "I do." Then Grace told Lance to rise, not as Lance of the Archilian, but Lance, the Knight of Gythia. She told him to get some rest, and once Lance departed the room, one of her assistants asked if they should call on the Archmage. Grace stopped them and said no. Instead, "I want you to go find my brother Titus." That concludes this episode of Heroic Ties, and wow, what a cliffhanger. Grace's story sheds light on Gythia's backstory, and also sets the stage for another epic story, possibly between Samuel and his father Titus. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, take a quick second and press the like and subscribe button. Subscriptions help us bring you these stories, and it's a way for you to easily support this channel. If you're also looking for more Halcyon Masters, I suggest you check out RoxyIsSmall's stream on MobCrush. We stream together every Tuesday and Friday. Finally, a big thank you to Sugar Venom and the team at SEMC. Your stories and artwork are truly amazing. Until next time, we'll see you on the Halcyon Fold.